All right, everyone, it's time to talk about the 2020 election and my sort of the standard prediction. My operative prediction for the entire time has been that Trump has a huge advantage going into 2020. That has not gone anywhere. I still think that he does, and so I'm going to sort of explain some of the basic reasons why. The first is the economy. Still doing well. You know, he opens up a multi-front trade war. It looks like he's already preemptively won against the Mexicans. Won, you know, in an amiable sense. They could solve the border crisis #2, which would be a huge optics win for him, probably get him to 47% approval. The economy generally marching along fine. We're not in any major wars. Yes, I'm pissed about the fact that we're continuing our presence in the Middle East. Yes, I'm pissed about the fact that we just won't leave Afghanistan. And I wish more progress was being made with Korea. But generally, foreign policy has been... It's certainly not the Bush administration, let's put it that way. So that's a blessing, I suppose. And then if you look at the domestic side, you do have quite a bit of unrest, but that doesn't necessarily not favor Trump. Some of it is his own core fans are still socially alienated. So you do have a hyper-partisan climate, which I think plays to his strategy, which is to inflame and antagonize. His political strategy is bar none the best that's been there in my lifetime, so that's also an advantage. Let's look, though, at who he might be running against. If we look at the polls, around half of all Democrats are behind one of two people, and it seems to be a fairly solid level of support. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders. They're both old white males. That's not good for turnout within the Democratic Party at this point. One of them's an avowed socialist, the other one has a Me Too optics problem. That's deadly to their campaigns. I don't think that either Biden or Sanders can win against Trump. I think Sanders the last time around would have done it better than Hillary, but even then I don't believe he would have won. And now that he's already lost once, he's even older. He's almost 80. That does matter to people, a lot of them. Now that he's come out and said weird shit, like, you know, felon voting, which is like, okay, that was kind of taken out of context, but again, optics matter. Reality matters less than perception. It was a huge hit in the face for Sanders' support. He started to decline thereafter. He's lost 3 or 4 points of support since his pinnacle. Meanwhile, Biden has gobbled almost all of it up, and that's the other reason why I think Trump has an advantage. Biden has a huge advantage within the Democratic Party because of the electability issue being so all-encompassing for Democrats. A massive proportion of Democrats, their primary or at least a close secondary reason that they would vote for a candidate has nothing more to do with platform or anything like that. It simply has to do with can they win. That's all they fucking care about. 2016 was so disastrous for the Democrats that they got paranoid, and now they're willing to put anybody in that position that they think can carry it. Joe Biden's the one that apparently they think is the one to do it. I happen to disagree. When I look at the top rung, when I look at like the top 5 people, okay, you have Biden, geriatric, Me Too optics problem, not particularly skilled at speaking, even less now than in the past. They're not particularly good at debating, which could be a problem. That could be why he doesn't get nominated. It would be a debate misstep more than anything else. Sanders, even older, old white male. Self-avowed socialist, probably can't compete in certain parts of the country because of that moniker. We'll have an uphill battle explaining Venezuela. There was a preemptive attempt to Me Too him because of a couple of staffers on his campaign sexually assaulting people. That could actually be dug up by the Trump campaign. That could become a problem for him as well. Trump would say, well, none of my staffers were doing things, haha, and you say that I'm the one that has a sexism problem. Look at crazy Bernie over there. That's the other problem. Bernie tends to get irate. Number 3, Elizabeth Warren. She's the most easily antagonized politician. You saw her reaction to being called the original Rachel Dolezal by Charlemagne the God a couple days ago. You saw the look on her face. She does one of two things. She clams up and acts like a deer in the headlights, which you do that on a debate stage, you're fucking toast. Or she gets irate. She starts, getting red in the face and rambling and attacking people verbally. Those aren't good qualities to have when you're going to have to debate your way through a bunch of Democrats just to get nominated and then potentially debate Trump, who will stalk around the stage purposely attempting to antagonize her. Elizabeth Warren is probably the uniquely least qualified person that could possibly run against someone with Trump's particular finesse. Then you have Kamala Harris, better than Warren in the optics sense. Not as easily baited, I think more verbose. Kamala Harris is simply more intelligent than Warren is. The problem with her is her past. Oh yeah, I was smoking weed listening to Tupac 2 years before Tupac had his debut album. Wow. So I smoked so much weed I went back in time, dude. Oh, by the way, not long after I was prosecuting people and giving them extended sentences for simple drug possession and truancy. Trump's going to look like the criminal reform candidate next to a person like Kamala Harris. Can you say lower turnout in the inner cities for the Democrats? Man, Trump would love to win Virginia and North Carolina, grab up Florida, cements the election with this. Wouldn't even need the fucking Rust Belt at that point. The map could look like it did in 2004, plus a few other states. All of a sudden, Donald Trump says, hey, I'm elected again. And then in that sort of rounds out the top run fifth place, you have either, depending on the poll on the day, you have either Beto, who, he's too cringy. I'm sorry, Beto O'Rourke is too cringy, would not perform well at a debate with Donald Trump. Optics-wise, is one of the worst candidates. He's basically dried up and gone to hell since his pinnacle. And then you have Buttigieg, who has, I think, a fairly low ceiling. And the reason is because he says stupid shit and he alienates people. That's really what it boils down to. It's sort of like the deplorables thing with Hillary Clinton. I can see that becoming a problem for him. He tries to jab, but he does it the wrong way. He's a more aggressive candidate. That's to his credit on one end, but on the other end, you gotta properly identify and constrain what you're defining as an opponent. So that's number one. Of all of the people that are likely or potentially likely to be the opponent, all of them have what I would consider disqualifying features. Opposed to Trump, who would have that potentially, but he's already president. He's already the incumbent. As far as like the optics go, incumbency is one of the 13 keys to the White House. I do happen to, have appreciated that particular theorem. It's operated since the 70s and seems to have worked every time. Although there are other ways that you could have told that Trump was going to win in 2016. One was, poll analysis, which Nate Silver never did. Another thing is the legacy media is doing the same thing that it was doing before, which is it's trying to stack the deck against Trump, stonewall him, nonstop 24/7 negative coverage. That's the world that Trump's been living in anyway. Worldwide wrestling, Stern, and pageantry, and The Apprentice, and weird shit like that, casinos and stuff. He's the ultimate gangsta as far as it goes with tabloids. Manipulating them has been a pastime of his since long before he was politically active. I don't think they'll be able to stop him. I think that backfires, and actually, once again, Trump, because of his opponent and because he's Trump, happens to be the cool candidate with all the tech-literate kids that can push him online and give him free advertising. And he gets free attention from the media every fucking single day. Nobody talks about anything but Trump half the time. That's basically their meal ticket. He's become a big hit with the legacy media in that one sense. If it looks like he's going to lose, in some boardroom out there, a bunch of greasy people smoking cigars will say, maybe we should reverse course and bash his opponent out of the way just so we can have 4 more years of plunder, so we won't have to have any creativity. And then, of course, after that, they systemically collapse, but it'd be funny if that happened. Scott Adams has alluded to the possibility that he thinks this might happen, but then, of course, at the same time, he's also said the opposite. So he's in a win-win situation, and people didn't even realize he was using 4D chess, too. It's remarkable. Good on him for managing to pull that off. Is great. But I think that he wins. I think it's likely. If you look at the polling as well, he's stubbornly in the mid-40s, thereabouts, 42 to 45, that range. He only needs a couple extra points. The thing is, he can't really gain that until he's got an opponent. Right now, he's running against insert Democrat here. Here's the other thing people must understand. He's going to poll lower against a Democrat when everybody who potentially doesn't like Trump has a Democrat that they would like. But the people who like Gabbard, they might hate Biden. The people who like Sanders might hate Elizabeth Warren. People who like Beto O'Rourke may hate Julian Castro. Only one of those people will be the candidate. And it's not good, as we saw in 2016, endorsements no longer matter as much as they did in the past. Another problem for Biden potentially. He's already out there stomping around trying to grab them all up. Mostly is. Still could become a problem because it doesn't mean as much as it used to. The fact is that a proportion of the Democratic Party, regardless of who the nominee is, will be alienated. I expect that at least one of the 2 minor blocs will have extremely low turnout and/or a bunch of defectors. That throws the election, I believe, to Trump. If you get a neoliberal like a Biden, can invigorate, voters in some of the critical urban areas that you would need to target in southern Florida, maybe. That could be a problem. Certain parts of the Rust Belt that would be closer, maybe in Michigan or something. I think he would do better there, but then I think he would hemorrhage votes in certain other parts of the country. You could see Nevada flip or something like that. If you get a Bernie Sanders candidate, I think it could be a problem in the Rust Belt when you're comparing and contrasting Trump's economic effects with this dude who's rambling about free shit. Once his tax plan actually gets picked apart and analyzed by people who know how to sum it up in a couple of sentences, I think that would destroy his campaign. Oh, the Democrats are fucked if they nominate Bernie Sanders. They're not going to be able to walk back from the ledge of socialism once they say, hey, we don't have a problem as a party with a geriatric dude being our candidate, even though he is so far left that 20 years ago he was considered complete fringe loony. We basically just laughed at him and said, yes, it's okay if he caucuses with us as long as he keeps an eye after his name. And it's okay because he gives us ice cream and stuff like that. And he's basically the court jester. That's how they took Bernie Sanders. Now the Democratic Party is saying, no, it's just fine. And then you get a little poison pill with people like Ann Coulter looking back on what he said about immigration even 10 years ago and applauding it. Which is really, really funny, because if you think he would actually follow through on that, you're nuts. It will be funny to see Bernie Sanders on a debate stage have to reiterate his views on immigration and try to point out, yes, I do believe in workers' rights here, and yeah, that requires immigration control. That'll piss off the far left, which is his core fan base. Or, no, I've seen the light. In the past I was like bourgeois, and no, I was wrong, and Mao came to me in a dream and told me different. It's going to be hilarious. Trump has a huge advantage on one thing, because there is no viable opponent. At least no opponent that can get nominated within the Democratic Party. Look, the opponents that could face off against him, I think that Tulsi Gabbard, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Julian Castro would be the three that would be the most likely to win. I'd say of the top-rung candidates, the only one that would stand even a chance is Buttigieg. That's hilarious, and he's in 4th or 5th place. It's not going to happen. You're probably going to see Joe Biden 2020, and he'll probably choose somebody like Kamala Harris, someone younger and further left as a running mate, and then he'll get ripped to shreds by Trump, and it'll be hilarious. Can you imagine Mike Pence could beat Kamala Harris in a debate? It'd be funny. And once again, you'll see a bunch of poll rigging and crazy free-for-all online and a bunch of censorship and bullshit like that. That's about all. Peace out.